So in the last lecture, we have configured Java JDK and we have downloaded Eclipse. So in this lecture, we'll be looking at the other part of what exactly an API is. And for that, we just double click on the Eclipse application and we got this workspace. Now, workspace is basically a location where we actually maintain our project code. So any piece of information you'll be writing will get stored at some location. That is what workspace is. So I generally give workspace as some meaningful name. So let's say I'll name it as Selenium New Lectures 2019. So just need to click on OK. See the Eclipse ID is 2018-09. Once you click on OK, it will take a few seconds and it should launch Eclipse. So once Eclipse is launched, you're going to see a welcome screen. Just close it, and this is what your Eclipse is. Now here you'll be looking at something that is called as Project Explorer, where you'll be maintaining your project hierarchy. In this area, you'll be writing some code, and here you're gonna get the output of that code. So we'll be talking about more Eclipse features as soon as we proceed with the course. But the very first thing we need to understand what Selenium is, and Selenium is an API. And in order to understand what an API is, we are actually going to design a calculator as a Java developer. So as a Java developer, I'll be right-clicking on this Project Explorer, say New, click on Project, select Java project from the template, click Next, and here it asks me for a project name. I can give any name to this project. I'll name it as Calci project. Click on Finish and click on Open. So this is your project. Your Java project is created. If you open this, you'll find one SRC folder where you'll be creating all the code, adding classes, right? And this is another thing called as JRE system library. These are nothing. These are internal Java classes which are available in a form of jar files. I mean, jar files is basically a collection of classes, interfaces, a number of things. So it's actually the basic core Java internal classes are there in these jar files. Right. So what are these jars? Like how they actually works? We'll be discussing about these things in our this session itself. So let's say I'll start from the SRC folder, and I'm gonna create a very first class. I'll say new and click on class and give the class name as calculator because we are designing a calculator. Now you need to make sure that whenever you're creating a class name, the class name always starts from a capital letter. So capital C in this case, right? And then you need to check public static void main. Click on finish. You'll see a sample code generated over here. Let me increase the font size. Control Shift plus plus plus. We're gonna increase the font size. Now here you see something in reddish color, something in black color. All these reddish color things are predefined keywords like public, private, protected. These are called as access modifiers. Then we have static, non-static members, void, int, string, return type to a method. This is a method. This whole thing is a class. So we need not to worry about what these things are right now because I have covered all these lectures in detail in core Java lectures. So all these topics are already covered. What are access modifiers? What is static, non-static? What are return types? What are methods? Different types of methods. So all these things are covered. Right. So right now, like these are comments, I can just remove them. Now anything that we need to write in Java should be present inside. I mean, anything that we want to execute in core Java should be present inside the main method, right? So let's say if I talk about how to print in Java, we can simply say system.out.println. This is a shortcut of writing system.out.println. That is SYSO control spacebar enter, right? So system out println within bracket we're going to give double quotes and write the very first program to print hello world. So just save this. This is the run button. Click on this. We're going to execute hello world, right? But we are not here to print hello world. We are here to understand what an API is. And for that, we are designing a calculator. Now, calculator contains various methods. So I'll be designing all those methods. Let's say I design a very first method called as add. Now, method name always starts from a small letter. See, Java itself has created a method with a small letter name, right? So there's something called as camel casing, which is followed in entire industry. Now, what camel casing is, let's say I have a class with the name the dark night. Now, there are three words in this class. If I read it like this, it is not very readable. To make it readable, first, if it is a class name, start from a capital letter. Any joining word should be in caps. Same way, if this is a method name, then it will start from a small letter. Any joining will be in caps. So that is what camel casing is, right? So, like we will be following the same standards in our project. This is because if you ever read any Java developers project, you should be able to come to know whether this is a class or this is a method, right? So same coding standards are followed everywhere. So now we have created a method called as addition. Now through this addition method, I'll be adding some numbers. So I'm gonna write some code inside it. If I call this method, it will gonna add some numbers. But right now we haven't studied much programming. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna print something. Let's say I'm gonna print over here, adding some numbers, right? So it means when you call this add method, it will gonna add some numbers. Same way, I'm gonna copy and paste and create some more methods. Control Shift F will gonna align everything properly, right? So this is Control plus Shift plus F for alignment, right? So after add, I'm gonna create subtract. We're gonna subtract some numbers. Then divide. We're gonna divide some numbers, and same way multiply. Multiply, and so on. So the same way I have created, let's say, a number of other methods as well, and I have completely designed this calculator project. So now I want to call this addition method from this calculator class. So how to call a method from a class that we have just seen? We need to create an object of this class. I'll just copy this statement and paste it over here. So when I pasted it, there are no errors. Errors in the sense, instead of calculator, if I write calculators, you're going to see that it has highlighted in red color. If you do a mouse over, Eclipse will going to give you suggestions. Cannot resolve to a type. See, this is a type. I said initially we discussed about what is an object. So I said this is a type. See, this is a type, right? So it is saying that either create a class as calculators, but we have a class with the name calculator. So it is asking us to change it to calculator. So if you click on it, it changes to calculator. Then we'll say calc dot, and we'll get list of all the methods inside this class. So the method that we have created will gonna have calculator name along with it, the class name. So if I say calc dot add, save it, run it, you'll see adding some number is called. Same way, if I want to call other methods from this class, I'll say calc dot subtract dot divide dot multiply. One by one, I can call all the methods. If I click on run, and it will execute everything from this class, right? But when I'm saying calc dot, it should show me only 4 methods that I have created. Why? It is showing other methods as well. And where are these methods coming from? See, the one that we have created has got calculator written along with it. But there are some methods which where I can see something written as object. Now, what this object is? Calculator is a class, but what object is? Basically, object is also a class in Java. It is a super class in Java. In a layman language, we can call object as mother of all classes. So any class in Java, any internal class in Java will be like a child class to this object class. Right? So any class in Java is a child class to the calculator class. And in a technical terms, I can say every class in Java, it extends object class by default. So when I'm saying extends, I'm referring to something called as inheritance. So we need not to worry about what object is right now. This is just for your reference. Why you are seeing these methods? Because object is like a parent class and child inherits the property of a parent. So when you are accessing methods of a child, you are able to see all the methods of child through this object reference, and you will also be able to see the methods of parent, right? Because child inherits the property of parent. So child shows the property of parent as well. So that is the reason we are able to see methods from the object class. But we need not to worry about object right now. So don't worry about it. We'll be discussing these concepts once we start with the OOPS programming in Java. Sorry. All right. So now there is one more method which has got the same name as of the class name. What we call it as a method having same name as of the class name is actually called as a constructor. Yes, in C++ as well we have constructors, in Java, in C#, right? Now what are constructors? Now constructors are like a method only. If I'm saying it's like a method, I can write some code over here as well. Let's say calling constructor. Now if this is a method, how will I call it? Shall I say calc dot calculator? I'm not gonna get it. Why? Because this is not a method. A constructor is not called like this. Even if you don't call any method, the constructor will be called automatically whenever you create an object of a class. So object you are actually creating over here in this statement. Now if you run this, constructor will be called automatically as soon as an object is created. Right? You need not to call it explicitly. So we were discussing about what is an object inside this statement. Right? Many people think that calc is an object. Now let's assume calc is an object and remove this much part. So if this is an object, if I click on run button, it will gonna call the constructor. Will it gonna call or not? Let's run it. See, the constructor is not called. It means this is not an object. So if this is not an object, then what I'll do, I'll remove this. See, still it is a valid statement. There are no errors. Now if I click on the run button, whether the constructor be called or not. So let's click. See, constructor is called. So this is where the object is actually created. Right? Calc is not an object. New calculator is actually creating an object. Right? Now, if this is an object, then what is the need of calc? Why we need that reference variable? So to call the methods from the class. Method as in if you don't have that calc, how will you call calc.add or calc.subtract or calc.divide? Can you call methods without reference? Yes, we can. How? By saying new calculator dot add. That's it. If you run it, see it has executed adding some numbers, right? And what if now you want to call subtract? You will again be saying new calculator dot subtract, new calculator dot divide, new calculator dot multiply. Sorry. It means to call each method from the class, you need to create an object every time. See, constructor is called 4 times. So if there are 100 methods in inside this class, so it means I'll be creating 100 different objects in order to call those methods. Now, this is not a better approach. So, what we'll do, wherever the object is created in a memory, we'll just store the address of that object in some variable. Variable could be any name, ABCD equal to. Generally, we give it a meaningful name, so we call it as calc. Now, in Java, every variable should have some type. As in, let's say if I'm storing the value as 100 in a variable called as value. So we know what is the type of this variable. This will always be int, right? Because numeric values are mostly stored inside integer variables, right? The type is integer. Can we store it in string? Can I write string? It will throw an error. Can I write boolean? It will throw an error. So only and only I'll be able to store it inside int. If I want to store it inside string, either I need to add it in double quotes. Means if there is a value called as hello, can I store this value inside integer? It will not work, right? I cannot store it inside boolean. I cannot store inside float, right? It means whatever the value is, the data type should be according to that. If a value is numeric, it should be int. If the value is in double quotes, it should be string. Now, if I talk about string, what is string? What is string in Java? It's a data type. Yes, it's a data type. Anything else apart from data type? Let's check with string itself. What I'll do a mouse over onto string. So what it says, the string class. So string is also a class in Java, right? It's an internal class in Java. So if this is a class, then what value is? This is not object, this is object reference, a reference variable. So if you say value dot, you should be able to see all the methods from the string class. See, against every method you'll find string written. But there are some methods where you'll find object as well written, right? Because object is a parent of any class in Java. That's the reason we are able to see object with all the methods that we are calling, right? So like the way we stored numeric value in int, we stored string text value in string. So when we are storing this thing, we cannot store it into int. We cannot store it into a string. This has to be of the same type. That is the reason we write calculator calc equal to new calculator. And now with this reference, if I call different methods from this class, then only and only if I run this, only and only one object will be created and all the methods will be referred from the same object reference. So this is what the very basic of what class, object, how we create an object, how we call methods. Although in our Java lectures, we will be discussing about what is a class, what is an object in very depth, right? So this is just to understand what exactly Selenium is. We are actually designing a project, right? A simple Java project, calculator, in which let's say I've created an addition method, and inside this, let's assume I've written some 300-400 lines of code with a very complex logic. Now, what I want that anyone from the entire world who wants to do addition, subtraction, division, he should not recreate this functionality. I've already designed the entire calculator project, all the addition, division method. So if anyone wants to add something, divide something, he can access my library and he can call this addition method instead of rewriting the entire logic. And plus, I want to launch it free of cost so that no one has to buy the license to access these basic methods. Not just free of cost, I want to make it open source. Now, open source does not only means that it is free of cost. It is true that it's free of cost, but open source means that anyone can contribute into the development of that project as well. Means next day, if any developer comes and he shows his interest in my project and he wants to contribute into my project. Let's say there are a couple of methods available, he want to add more methods for calculating percentage, calculating square root, he wants to enhance my project and take it to the next level, then he's most welcome, right? He can add his own functionality to this project, and if I like it, then I'll gonna include it in the project. This is how open source things they work. So anyone can contribute into the development of the project as well, and anyone who wants to use it for their internal utilities, like without recreating the entire thing, anyone can add, subtract, divide, multiply, can access all the functionalities from this calculator project, right? So what I'll be doing, I want that everyone should be able to access this project. So what I'll do, I'll just right click on this project, I'll go to build path, I'll say, sorry, not build path, I'll go to export, I'll click on Java, and I'll select the jar file. Then I'll click on next, and here it asks me for a jar file name. I'll name it as calculator version 1.0.jar. It could be any, it's like the first version of my project. And I'll store it somewhere on desktop. Right, click on finish. If you go to desktop, you'll see that a calculator version 1.0 jar has been generated. Right, this is a jar file. It's not like if I double click on it, it will gonna install calculator on my machine. It is not going to do any installation. With the help of this jar file, you're only going to come to know what all classes are there, what all methods are there inside that calculator project. Even if a developer has not given you access to see the code, you'll not be able to see the code written inside the addition method. But you should be able to call the addition method. Normally, in an open source project, people give away their code as well. Because open source means anyone can contribute into the development part as well. Now, this jar file, I'll upload it onto my website. Why? Because website can be accessed from any part of the world. So now from any part of the world, if anyone want to do addition, division, subtraction, he can download this jar file and can include it in their own project. And after that, let's say I quit this company. I'm going to close this project. And now I joined another company again as a Java developer. Let's say I joined Citibank, right? So one of the banking domain organization that I joined. Now let's assume Citibank has their own banking domain developed in Java itself. So they may be having some classes as well. Let's say I'll create one of the class called as banking. And this as well, I'm gonna add a main method. So like this. And they already have some functionality created for calculating profit and calculating loss. Now I was hired in between of this project, right? And they want me to implement some functionality that could add salaries for a number of employees. So something related to, I need to create a functionality called as add over here as well. Now let's assume this addition functionality is similar to what I have designed in my calculator project in previous organization. Now there are two ways to design it. Either I should start writing the entire code again, but it was very lengthy code, somewhere around 300-400 lines of code with very complex logic. It may take me days to finish it, right? The other way is, it's an open source project, right? There's no license for it. So instead of rewriting the entire code, what I'll do, I'll just go to their website, download their jar file, and right clicking on my project, go to build path, click on add external archives, and I'll include this calculator jar as a reference library to my project. So once you include it as a reference library, once you open it, you'll see the calculator class showing up. If you open it, you'll see other methods are also showing up, right? So although we are not able to see the code inside addition method, but we are not worried about code, right? We got the access to addition. If we want to implement addition, we simply need to create an object of calculator calc equal to new calculator, and we'll go inside this and call calc.add. See, without rewriting the code, we are able to call these methods. We have implemented this function. Let me change this name to add salary with the help of this jar file. But if the jar file is not there, then how Eclipse will come to know what is calculator? Because this class is from a third-party project. If you do a mouse over, Eclipse says it cannot resolve to a type. It's not able to understand what this calculator is. It is asking us to create a class, to create an interface, but this is already a class in a third-party project. So we need to add that project in a form of a jar file to our project as a reference library. Now Eclipse is able to understand what this calculator is. Now if you want to call this add salary from banking, how will you call it? By creating an object of banking b equal to new banking, and say b dot add salary. That's it. Save it and run it. You're gonna see entire functionality executed without recreating the add salary method. We are able to achieve the entire functionality with the help of this jar file. So if I talk about this jar file, this is what an API is. This is an API to to Citibank project. And if we are talking about Selenium, Selenium is one of the same thing. Selenium is available in a form of a single jar file or multiple collection of jar files. So in the same project, if you want, you can right click, go to build path, add external archives. Wherever I have downloaded the Selenium jar, see, this is what Selenium is. Just a 20 MB jar file. If I click on open, it gets added. That's it. Now, instead of calling these classes, I can comment them and I can call a class of Selenium. So there's one class called as Firefox driver. If I create an object of this class and run it, what will happen? See, this launches a browser. Just by creating an object of Firefox driver class, a browser is launched. Right? We haven't installed anything. I mean, anything related to Selenium. Just we installed Java, we configured Eclipse, and we added a jar file. That's it. And now you can start with the automation. So just by creating an object of Firefox driver class, how the browser is launched? Where the code is written for launching a browser, it must be inside this jar file. Now, where inside this jar file? Inside the Firefox driver class. And where inside the Firefox driver class? Inside some method? We haven't called any method. It is inside the constructor. So even if you don't call this, if you just create an object of a class, as soon as you create an object of a class, the very first thing that is called the constructor. If you click on run, by default constructor will be called, and the developer who has created Selenium WebDriver Firefox driver class has written a code inside this class that whenever you create an object of this class, constructor will be called and constructor will be responsible for launching the browser. Now, code could be a 100-line code, could be 500 lines code. We need not to worry about it because we are not developing Selenium. We just need to call these classes and call different methods, and we need to automate our website. That is how we will be working on Selenium. So Selenium is not a tool, right? Although there are different plugins available, like something is Selenium ID, something is called as RC, WebDriver, Grid, and number of components are there. Now, what those components are, we will be looking at in the next lecture, right? But before that, this is what an API is. API is basically a project built up in any language and used in some third-party projects, right? So Selenium is designed by a different organization. It is designed by ThoughtWorks, right? Initially started by ThoughtWorks. Then later on, many other companies contributed into the development, right? Google was one of the major contributor. WebDriver was initially started in Google itself by a developer called as, his name is Simon Stewart. So Simon Stewart is the one who actually designed this WebDriver. And later on, developers from Facebook, Adobe, and number of other developers contributed into the development of this project. Right? Google itself is a very heavy user of WebDriver. They're major, they are involved into the major development of WebDriver as well as for their internal functionality. They use WebDriver to automate it. Their web-based applications. Right? So that is what Selenium is. Selenium is just a project, a Java project. In case you're working in Java, Selenium is available in a form of a jar file. Same way, if you're working with different languages, like we discussed about Python, C Sharp, Java is jar file, C Sharp is DLL file, Ruby, we have gem file. Same way for all languages, different bindings of Selenium is available, right? So you can download Selenium from the jar file that I included is from seleniumhq.org. You need to click on download and you need to download this jar file. This is the latest version. If you click on this, this will give you one single jar file. Right, so this is latest Selenium 3. We'll be working on latest Selenium 3 itself. But if I include this jar file right now, see I've added some 2.53.1. If I go to build path, remove, and add the latest one. Add the latest one, that is 3.141.59. And if I run this code right now, will it gonna work? No, it will not work. Why? Because there are some changes in Selenium 3 which looks for some driver executable file which is provided by Gecko driver, which is provided by Mozilla. Now all the browsers, they provide their own executable files. In Selenium 2 as well, if you want to work on Chrome, IE, Safari, Opera, you need a separate executable file. In case of Firefox, there was a direct support. But as soon as 3.0 came into the market, there is no direct support with Firefox as well, right? So in order to work on Firefox as well, you would be needing an executable file, which you will be downloading it from here. See, for IE, there's 32-bit, 64-bit. If you go down, you'll find third-party driver bindings not developed by Selenium HQ. So these are all the bindings for Gecko driver, Chrome, Opera, Edge, right? We're going to see detailed configuration of these browsers in our upcoming lectures, right? So Gecko driver is something like this. Go to latest. This is the latest one, 0.24.0. You need to download it. It comes as a zip file. So if you click on this, it's downloaded. Somewhere around 4.5 MB. So once it gets downloaded, I have this thing in my compressed folder. So this is, I'll unzip it, extract to this, and this is the executable file. So I just need to copy and paste this executable in the root of this project. And now if I run this, you're gonna see that it will not throw any error. These are just logs, and it will launch your Firefox browser. And now if you want to navigate to a website and perform testing on it, you need to call different methods. So one of the method is get. See, it asks you for a URL in string format. String is basically double quotes. So give the URL as http way2automation.com, save it, run this, and see it again launches a browser, and this time navigating to way2automation.com. Right? So this is what your API is. This is what your Selenium is. As I said that we can call Selenium as not only a jar file. We can say Selenium as set of libraries, a project, a Java project. If you're working on Java, write jar file. This is what is called as framework as well, because Selenium provides you this framework, provides your functionality through which you can automate your website. You can click on buttons, links, radio buttons, check boxes, type in any input box, and perform all different sort of actions on a web page, and can automate the entire website. So this is what Selenium is, and this is what your API is. So Selenium is basically an API. And in the next version, we'll be discussing about all these components of Selenium, right? So that's all in this lecture. Thank you.